So the topic of the night is flock cameras, and what I've seen, and what I want to do is just kind of throw out some of the things I've seen and some of the like the memes and some of the things that have been happening. I just keep kind of flying in the face. For instance, I saw a meme the other day that said something to the effect of a guy that was like a guy that was it was like a cartoon drawn, and the guy was like saying, "But we're catching criminals," and it was like this little bitty like drop of water pouring it over him, and then the other side was, "But we're invading privacy," and they were like pouring buckets on top of this guy, kind of thing, like it was um, outweigh whether or not we were being policing versus whether we were actually invading people's rights. And then I saw another one that said, you got town hall meetings going on right now, especially. So Brian, just to give you a little update, like in Middle Tennessee where we're at, there's a lot of like town hall things happening right now, and in our like just right in Middle Tennessee and a couple of counties and neighboring counties where people are coming forward, and they're all wanting to, the town people want to step up and talk, and this is all they're talking about. This is all they're talking about right now, and it's making the waves. And pretty much by and large, this is already becoming a political issue. It's already becoming, well, if you're on the right, you hate flock cameras, and if you're on the left, you love them. And I personally don't see it that way at all. I don't see this political, but I also don't deal with it firsthand like you do. So having given some of that criticism, and you've probably seen and heard some of this yourself, but I was just trying to give you context of what's going on in Middle Tennessee that is particularly hot right now. And these little clips of these people, these town halls are popping up on social media, and they're flying around, and it's becoming divisive. It's becoming like, well, it's like the whole, you either take a vaccine or you don't. It's like becoming one of those types of things, like real quickly. And I wanted to get your take on sort of the good, the bad, and the indifferent about what it means to have flock cameras, and how do you see it?
So, flock camera is a technology, right? It's a technology, um, but first off, there is a bit of psychology to this to some degree because there's going to be with any political issue, there's going to be a group of people who will never be convinced, right? I mean, there's you kind of have your extremes. You have some that will never be convinced that this is something that should go away, and you'll have folks who will never be convinced that this is something that should stay. So, where you find policy is usually somewhere in the middle. Um, that being said, this is a new technology that is really challenging um, the legal terms that we have available, right? So, at what point does mass surveillance turn into mass surveillance, right? What point is it not mass surveillance? What point is it mass surveillance? And then at what does the Constitution allow for anything on that spectrum? And I would suggest to you that the Constitution does allow for certain things to happen. Um, the Constitution, especially the Bill of Rights, is a restriction on the government itself. It is not a restriction on the citizens or the citizens' rights. Um, so you have that groundwork to work from, but we already have well established law that is that's basically says you don't have any expectation of privacy in public. But at what point does the expectation or the lack of expectation of right to privacy meet a system that can be highly abused, right? So I'm not trying to say that flock cameras are amazing or great, and therefore you should keep them. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that this is absolutely something that is going to have to be um, brought through policy. So the folks that don't want this, the folks that are very concerned by it, they're bringing their concerns to their local municipalities and their local counties, right? And as they should. That's absolutely what they should do. The problem that those folks like myself will run into is you're exposed to how many crimes these things actually solve. I mean, and
Mm.
that's the toughest part about this problem is that it actually solves quite a bit of crime. Um, I mean, we had a
Th-
guy rob Target. We had him in custody in less than 4 minutes. We had a guy rob a
Wow.
gas station. We knew exactly where he lived and where he was in like 12 minutes. I mean, it was that is there has not been, in my opinion, there has not been a technology that has come along that allows for the expediency of crimes to be solved with this magnitude. So that's the counterweight to this whole issue. Is I mean, because if they didn't solve crimes, I mean, your politicians would be like, yeah, let's
Right.
get rid of them, right? I
Sure.
mean, this is an easy thing. Um,
So, so let me jump in and tell you a little bit about you. You might have been familiar with this, and you may not have. And for those that might end up watching this, but here in Middle Tennessee, we got a town just outside of Nashville called Mount Juliet. It's where my dad's church is. It's where mom worked for the city for a long time. It's just east of Nashville. And Mount Juliet is a little town, little bitty little town in Nashville, well, growing, that basically was, I think, the first in this area in Middle Tennessee to put those in, and immediately was making national headlines. People were stealing cars in Wisconsin, and as they were driving through Mount Juliet, they got pulled over.
yep.
Like that happened. There were people that had committed some kind of a lot more heinous crimes like murder and such, child neglect, kidnapping, Amber Alert type stuff. There, as soon as they were all over the country, and as soon as they went through Mount Juliet, because so for to give you an idea for the map, the Mount Juliet is on I-40, which basically is the interstate that runs east to west through Tennessee, and Tennessee's a long state, right? That's the state that's the interstate you've got to travel if you're going from one side to the other. Period, if you're going from side to side. And as soon as they go through that area, I mean, it just flags them. They're pulled over. They have solved so many crimes over there that it was real quick. It was like, hey, if you don't get caught, don't go through Mount Juliet. You're going to get busted. And then
So
it immediately reduced crime, and it caused a positive thing. And that was my introduction to flock cameras, was that town. It was like, hey, this is a positive thing. And all of a sudden, it started going south. And I'm interested in knowing too, and maybe, and I don't know, Jonathan, if you've heard of this or not, but what kind of criticisms have you guys heard about flock cameras that seem substantial? Because all I've heard is don't invade my privacy. Well, okay, what does that mean? You know?
I'll let Jonathan have a
I
go.
think that's on a. I think yeah, I'm with. I think we're all going to probably land in the same spot. Unfortunately, we didn't get blessed with ignorance where we get to just go from one side or the other. Probably going to land in the middle. Um, yeah, Mount Juliet. Like I was gonna say what Jason said, and then Mount Juliet is it's become a joke. Like I drive through there every day to and from work, and it's always a joke. Like how many are they going to have pulled over today? And there's always at least one, and it's for that very reason. It's they've put in these block cameras and they post about it on Facebook, and it's always caught the tags, caught the person, and they had X amount of drugs on them, X amount of guns, X amount of all this, and it was positive, and that's good. And then, like you were saying, Jason, the criticism, I think it comes from stories that I've seen are like agents or police officers um, using
Hmm.
it to track their ex girlfriend or track somebody or some guy they didn't like, or doing things
There you go.
that were that were past what they should have been doing, and it's not what the intention of it was for. And but to the credit of these places, they're implementing these laws that say, okay, you need to have a reason to access these. You have to have a written reason, and that has to be approved. So I think maybe we rushed it to get the flock cameras without some kind of fail safe in place, or maybe it's
Well,
just one of those trial and error things.
like that DA, I don't know where she is, but there was a lady, I think she was a DA of some municipality, and she was using the flock cameras to spy on her husband's ex-wife.
Right. The age as
And
well. Yeah, I've seen this.
as soon as that hit, she got fired,
Oh
and
yeah.
may
Yeah.
have even been prosecuted. I don't remember. I don't know how that part works, but I know she got fired. And so there apparently is something, there's some kind of code of ethics there, at least on the fundamental level, on a baseline level. But to your point, there may not be anything substantial, like there may be an actual lawful groundwork. And this pivots back to Brian, and like, what is it that are, do you know of that about this, that is what they're allowed to do and not allowed to do when it comes to these flock cameras?
So again, this is a brand new technology. So if you want me to nerd out a little bit, I can. I mean, that's totally up to y'all if you want that.
Go for it.
All right. So CGIS is, which is CJIS, Charlie, Juliet, India, Sierra. That's the acronym. It's like, what is it? It's the criminal justice information. Is it information system? Yeah. So anyway, it's the governing framework by which all law enforcement officers and departments have to follow. So if you've ever worked anywhere that law enforcement is, you've probably been CJIS certified to some degree, and they have different levels of certification. And CJIS talks about how your evidence has to be stored. It's what requires you to have things like evidence trail, or custody of chain of custody for evidence. It's a framework that all law enforcement basically has to follow, but it allows for them to kind of figure out certain things on their own, right? So it's like you have to meet certain standards. How you meet it, it's totally up to your department. The problem with it is that that's probably the biggest one. It's the only one that I know of that they're held to. There may be others. So if you've got viewers that are in law enforcement, there may be other ones that I'm just not aware of. And Tennessee may have something that I'm not aware of as well. But it does not really address ALPRs, right? That's what a flock camera is an automatic license plate reader. So what I think Jonathan was touching on is this is a brand new technology, and a lot of places they're putting it inside of the vehicles, which if you're not in cybersecurity and you're not in IT, it kind of makes sense because these folks, these officers and deputies, almost always have a laptop in the vehicle with them already. And if they roll up on a vehicle, they can punch in the license plate of the vehicle and get back that information. So when a police officer pulls you over, or state trooper, whatever, pulls you over, and they ask for your license and registration, they take it back to their vehicle, they punch it into the laptop, and it goes out and searches and comes back with all your information, right? They already have access to that. That's already in the cars, right? The problem is that system already has access control and other controls already around it, right? So if an officer gets in that and starts just randomly looking up just people, like, oh, I'm going to look up, whoever, they will likely get into trouble because there's already controls placed around that. Whereas Flock's offering a service. So that system that's already there on the laptop, that's kind of a government ran program. So the government does a decent job of putting controls around things and saying, hey, you have to be trained, you have to have access. Only so many people can have access. This, that, and the other. There's controls around the usage of it. All that stuff's kind of in place. All the guardrails, if you will, for the use of the information, use of the device, or the capability. And the problem that we're seeing right now is that flock cameras is just a website that you have access to, and you can literally get to it in your off-duty time if you wanted to. If you knew what the URL is, you can log into it, sitting at home and just see where maybe your ex-girlfriend was, or maybe your ex-boyfriend, or what have you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing that kind of stuff making the news, of course, because it's hot button issues. The news is always going to focus on hot button issues. But I will point out that what you're seeing is these people are getting arrested. They're getting fired. They are paying a
Right.
consequence for their actions. And so I think really the public trust piece of this is, what are the controls and constraints around the use and the access of this technology, right? We require people to have a driver's license before they drive a car, right? I mean, that's use and access of a vehicle. So very similarly, you probably keep your money in a bank, right? Most people keep their money in a bank or a credit union, and every teller that works at a bank or a credit union can absolutely look up your account information and look up how much money you have, and they can move the money out of your account into another account. They can absolutely do that, right? They don't, because the fear of jail time and the consequences of that action, and knowing full well if they do it, they'll get caught because it'll be audited. That's the kind of constraints that I think really needs to be in place, around this type of technology, around ALPR technology. And that's what we're missing. That's what I think most places are missing. So like in Panama City, we have 4 people who have access to the flock system. We don't put it in vehicles. We don't allow regular officers to have access to the system. We have 4. They're not even officers. They're intelligence agents, if you will. They sit in the police headquarters, and they listen to 911 calls. When a 911 call comes in, they say, "Oh, somebody was doing something. They're getting away. What does the vehicle look like?" They're able to then punch that information in real time. They're not interacting with the 911 call. They're just listening to it. And so they're able to punch this information in real time and redirect the officer that is en route to the 911 call to the suspect, because the suspect is now fleeing the scene. And I mean, that's how we were literally able to catch criminals doing stuff minutes after they've chosen to break the law.
There was a story there, if I'm not mistaken, of somebody committing a crime pretty egregious, maybe hitting someone in a parking lot. Was that the one? And you don't have to
you want
give
stories?
details, but
we had a guy
stories are always great. But
we had a guy execute another guy in a parking lot. They were Panama City, right? So people come down, right, from other places. We love it when y'all do that, so please come on down. But this guy's wife had decided to come down with another man other than him. And he found out about it and found out where she was. And he come down here, found her and him together, took him out in the parking lot and executed him, and then drove away. Well, all we had was the SUV color and a partial tag. They found him driving, and it ensued. I mean, they figured out where he was based on where the flock cameras were, because where he was, his vehicle was showing up in the system. And ultimately, I mean, it ended up in a standoff, and we were able to arrest him. But that turned into a multi-city, county, whole full-blown police chase and everything. But we knew where to start looking, right? And we had him the same day. And he's now.
And from your perspective, you're seeing more of that, and not so much more of the abuse that could be taking place.
Yeah, and the news is going to amplify the abuse, because that's what gets the views, right?
Absolutely. And you still believe, if I heard you correctly a second ago, you still believe that more guardrails probably need to be put in place. Well, we probably needed a better system of saying this is what we do and don't. Since what you just said, what y'all do sounds pretty tight. I mean, there's 4 people with access, and that's it. So there wasn't a DA walking in there going, "Hey, I want to do this to you."
So how we do it is the terminal. I mean, it's just an IP locked machine, but it's a regular workstation. It has an IP address, and only that IP address can access our flock instance. And so we have one machine that can access it, and that's inside of a room that regular officers can't even get into. So And then every single search that the agent, the intelligence analyst does has to have a reason, right? 911 call, or active investigation or whatever. So the officers have to go to another entity inside the police department and say, hey, I need you to look at this up, and here's why. Here's the investigative case number, right? So we're not putting ourselves in a situation where a guy is sitting, in 3 a.m. and he's bored and he's like, well, I'm gonna look at my buddy's tag. I want to see what he did today, and get himself in trouble. So
Right.
that the access to the system has been corralled down to 4 people, and really only 2 of them log into it. We just have the other 2 in case for some reason these 2 of us get sick. But they all work in the same section, which is behind a locked door that you have to badge in. You have to have certain rights to get in past that door. And the vast majority of the police department do not have rights to get in past that door.
So here's a fair question about all that. Is there a slippery slope here anywhere?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we haven't even got into privacy aspects of it, right? We've only gotten into the law enforcement aspects of it. So
all right.
So what I'm saying is that this is why the politicians don't want to pull it, is because they're seeing it be very effective, like highly effective. Like what you were talking about earlier, we're Panama City, man. People drive through Mount Juliet. People come to Panama City, right? And so we have spring break every year. March 1st, it just kicks off, and this place immediately overnight has 150,000 extra people added to it, and they come from all over the Southeast, sometimes as far away as like New York or Chicago. And with that, your drug dealers know these folks want to party, and so they're going to come down here and they're going to sell their wares, right? So because we instituted the flock system, and because other states have tagged certain vehicles and whatnot with, hey, this is warrant out for the rest for this drug dealer, what have you, we pick them up and we hook them and book them. I mean, it is insane how much that we have caught drug dealers coming from out of state to which now, I mean, that's transporting drugs across state lines that's felony, right? Flat out. So don't really, I'm sure there's certain amounts to it, but it doesn't take much. And
right.
We've been able to take so many of those guys out of commission that it's mind-boggling. Now, privacy-wise, we kind of talked about how do you constrain your police officers, right? How do you make it to where these folks can't abuse it? And because police officers are not perfect, they're people too. They're going to make mistakes, they're going to make bad decisions, and with or without the flock cameras, they're going to do that. They're going to make mistakes and bad decisions. So you have to have those policies in place that address that when those officers do make bad decisions. So like I saw a video, 2 officers showed up to this veteran's house. He was an Army veteran. And they started off the conversation with, is your baby mama here? This guy's, as far as I can tell, he's an upstanding citizen. You know what I mean? He's there's no reason to start the conversation that way, right? And he's like, what do you mean, my baby mama? I'm married. I'm happily married. I've got a kid. Like, what do you? I guess disrespectful, And they just went in on him. They had the wrong address. Had nothing to do with flock cameras. They just had the wrong address, and they just royally screwed up big time. One of those police officers got fired because of that interaction. So we always have to hold our police officers accountable for the decisions that they make when they're bad decisions, right? This is just another avenue to do that. Now, privacy concerns, that's what is Flock doing with the information. That's kind of, I think, once you've solved for access and once you've solved for policy around abuse, then you get into, okay, well, Flock are they saving anything out of this? Is the data that the city or the county that's supposed to be theirs, is Flock making a copy of that somewhere, or are they using the metadata? I don't think they're making a copy out of it. I work in IT. I know that video is like the biggest. I mean, it's just massive. When you start adding video from every street corner, in a city, it gets expensive very, very quickly. But there's ways to get the metadata off of that and to create heat maps on where and use this information to potentially sell it to big data companies so that they know that where Jason or Jonathan went, you know, any given day, or what is your particular route, right? And so it's the same companies that buy the information off of your cell phone companies, right? Like you're very similarly, you'd be talking to somebody and your phone will start giving you ads, right? You'd be
I
talking
was
to
just about
news.
to say, as you started,
Yeah.
talking, I was just about to say, 2 days ago, I think it was earlier this week, I mentioned somebody that I hadn't seen in a very long time, and the next time I opened my phone, that was who came up on Facebook. Come
Yep.
on.
It was when it comes to ads, that's what big data does. Big data is really meant. That's one of the biggest things that they really make a lot of their money in is trying to give you the targeted ad that you will press the button and buy it. Because
Yeah.
if I'm an ad agency and I can put something in front of you and it converts at say like a 40% conversion rate, I am mining gold. Like it is, conversion rates are usually, I mean, like 10% or less. So if we can if you can get into a higher conversion rate, which means you have a highly specifically targeted ad to that individual, which increases the conversion rate. That's the kind of stuff that I think the states also need to be looking at. They need to be, cities and counties don't have as much of a say in that one. I mean, you can write it, but how do you enforce it, right? States have a lot more power to shape that, and I think that's I think both of these solutions, the controls around police officers and how they access, who accesses that kind of thing. I think that the state absolutely should write legislation to provide for that. I also think in separate bills, because Flock and the other ALPR companies are just going to fight it tooth and nail, they need to put in privacy protections. Like, hey, you cannot sell any of this data. This data is our data. You cannot have it. And if we catch you, catch you with it, then this is the massive amount of fee. It has to be heavy. It has to be. You're talking about billions of dollars. So if you hit somebody with like a $200 million fine, they'll literally that's an accounting error in some of these companies. So that's kind of where I stand with it.
Yeah,
It's technology. It's not going away. Communities can, they can decide to get rid of it. And if that's what that community wants, great. That means the system worked, right? The political system worked.
The political system, right? Yeah.
Because the Tennessee and Florida are like, they're like cousins, I mean, like our laws are incredibly similar. And I think a lot of it comes down to, Jonathan left.
Yeah, we lost it.
So
that's wild. That's all wild. And I just keep thinking of like, well, you brought it up, you alluded to it, and it's the thing that it's just like anything else. It's like, man, it is technology that is not going anywhere. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? It's not going anywhere. And I'm I was slow to get on board with things like texting. I was slow to text when they first started coming out with text messages. I was like, I ain't doing that. And now it's all I do. Like I just caught it. It was like, hey, this technology is not going anywhere. And it just keeps happening like that. And AI is the new thing. Any form of AI, it's just not going anywhere. And we've got to figure out what we can do about it. And so I think you've proposed the right stuff. I think you've, it's like you're solving a lot of crimes. And again, that was my introduction. My introduction to Flock cameras was what it was doing about Judith, which was a little bitty town that nobody even knew existed. And they were right and left busting major criminals. And it became a nationwide story that this little bitty little town outside of Nashville was making that kind of noise. And so um, Jonathan
Yeah, I
joined
saw that.
as a watcher.
Yeah,
Yeah. So and by the way, my daughter's on here somewhere. I think she's still on. My daughter Madeline is on, and she told us that we were too old to be doing this, and we needed to be in bed.
that's funny.
Um, she she said, "Get to bed. You're too old to do this." That's what she texted me a little while ago.
Jonathan said his phone
Yeah,
died.
that's why I wanted. Yeah, so I wanted to know. I really wanted to know your thoughts on this, especially since you're in it. Like, I don't really know anybody else that's quite in it in the way that you are. I know people that kind of have, know about it and around people and whatever, but I didn't really know anybody that was actually like directly in it quite like you were. And so your overall take, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that you're on board, particularly because of all of the crime that it solved.
Um, I don't know that on board is the right word. I think there needs to be
Okay.
more. I would say cautiously optimistic is
There you
really
go.
important, because I think that there is extremely high potential for abuse, and I think that that I would like, and I don't normally say this because Tennessee has the same thing that Panama or that Florida has, which is called home rule. And home rule means that your city that you live in can decide whether or not they want to do something. And if the state hasn't precluded them from doing it, and it's not against the federal law, they can do it. Right. So other states, especially northern states, they have to ask Mother May I for everything. They have to ask the state if they get for permission to do anything really. And so the beauty of this and the beauty of this American system is that if the citizens of a certain city or county don't want this technology, then they can petition their representatives and potentially vote them out if need be. If they can get enough political movement on it to affect change there. And then, there's been a couple of towns that have decided, hey, this isn't for us, and that's the beauty of it. They can just not have it. I would suggest that places that like Mount Juliet, which find themselves with a town, I don't know the population of Mount Juliet, but I don't imagine it's hundreds of thousands of people. I think it's probably closer to 50, my guess. Don't know.
I actually don't. I actually don't even have an idea. But I know for a while it was the fastest growing city in the state of Tennessee. I knew that.
Okay, so let's pull it up. Population Mount Juliet.
Yeah, you got access. I'm using my phone for this, so I'm not even on the computer.
So what I'm getting at is it may work in some areas, and in other areas may say, we don't want it. Yeah, about 40,000 people. So
40. There you go.
So that's literally the same as Panama City. So here's the thing: Mount Juliet and Panama City are very, very similar cities, and what I mean by that is you have a residency of 40 to 42,000 citizens that are paying taxes. So that sets your max revenue cap, right? Like that sets how much money you're able to bring in. But I bet you that Mount Juliet is just like Panama City in the sense of we service about 150,000 people. So you got 40,000 paying the taxes, but you got 50,000 that your police department's having to deal with. And so Panama City, we get a lot of the 231, 77 traffic going across the bridge to the beach, right? From about March to August is just constant. Mount Juliet's on I-40, right? So
to give you a context, so Nashville is in Davidson County. Nashville is, and Mount Juliet is the first town you hit when you head east after you leave Nashville.
So they're doing like what we're doing with it. They're using it as a force modifier because you just can't afford that many police officers. You just can't, not off 40,000 citizens. So there's a maximum amount of police officers that you're going to be able to
I see what
afford.
you're saying. Got you. I
Make
see what you're
sense?
saying. You have a small amount of citizens that service a large amount of people, and you don't have the police force to police the amount of people that are coming through. Got it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
Wow. That
because
makes
you're a
total sense.
thoroughfare,
I didn't even thought about that.
you're getting a lot of
Right.
extra folks, and when you get extra folks, you get some of them that make bad decisions. You know, I mean, it's just whether
Of
they're
course.
hit
Of
and
course.
run, or whether they're child abduction, or whether they're robbing a place. We had it was a year ago, I think. We had a road rage incident go bad. Some guy just shot. He pulled a gun out and just shot at another car, just being stupid. He road rage
Mm.
incident, sped off, didn't think anything of it, killed the guy.
Wow.
So I think it might have been 2 years ago, but that's the kind of stuff that they weren't local. They weren't from here. You know
Right.
what I mean? It's like
Right. Right.
so that's where I think you'll see that certain areas will lean into it more than others, and I don't think that that's necessarily going to be along political lines like blue and red. I think it's going to be more along
Yeah.
service. Like if you're out in the middle of nowhere in the country and you don't have a lot of crime, or you kind of know who does your crime because they're usually in and out of jail, maybe this isn't something that you absolutely have to have. Maybe this isn't something that's going to cause you to, a huge benefit. But when you have a lot of people that are from outside of your area that are transversing through your area, you look for any way to ease the burden on your taxpayers.
I'm immediately thinking of all tourist spots. I mean, I just immediately started thinking, Myrtle Beach, and
Yep.
I started thinking of all the touristy spots, and I'm like, wow, that's going to be the thing. The thing is going to be that those types of places are going to probably increase the need for this, or suggest the increased need for
Yeah.
this. Um, and that makes really total sense. And it's, yeah, wow. This is why I wanted to talk to you, because these are things I just haven't even thought about. Mainly because this isn't my world. My world is, you know, psychology. I deal with people's problems,
So
but sometimes their problems are the government's watching me, and so we got that issue.
the general fund of Mount Juliet, yeah, it's close to ours. It's almost the exact same. 2027 fiscal year is going to be 65 million. 65 million, which is a ton of money to me and you, but to a town of 40,000 people, I mean,
Right.
they don't spread as thick as you think it does. Ours is going to be about 64.5 million, I think, for 2027. So
This is, wow. These are really, really, these are really close aligned.
Yeah,
Close
it's like a sister
aligned,
city.
the two.
So
Wow.
the point that I'm trying to make to you is that out of that 65 million that Mount Juliet is going to be, ideally doing the budget for 2027, I see here on some Facebook things, 60% of that is to public safety, which public safety includes your fire and your police, right? So fire is pretty expensive. Police is pretty expensive too. Ours is going to be about $64.5 million, roughly. I want to say it's 15 million is going to go to the police department, and about 17 million is going to go to the fire department. We have, I mean, and you got to think there's only that's for any vehicle replacements, that's for trainings, that's for 24/7 police coverage in town. You have, for every officer out on the road, you have a certain percentage of people that are back at headquarters that are supporting that officer, right? So it's not just dispatch. You have there's all kind of administrative things that the police departments and sheriff's departments are required to do by state law and federal law.
Right.
And so
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just too much for
You're
one.
you're spreading that. You're spreading that thin.
Yeah,
Are
exactly.
you
So
dealing with? Are you dealing with at the and I was going to say personal level, but I meant professionally and personal. But like have you dealt with or had to deal with some of the criticism and the pushback on this where you're at? Have you had people coming to you going, "Why are we doing this? What's going on?" Like, what have you had to deal with in that regard
yeah, I mean,
with
it's
flock?
obviously an ongoing conversation. I'm just like every commission or council. One person can't make the decision,
Mm,
right? They can be
sure, yeah,
vocal about it, but they can't make the decision. And there's a bit of strategy to that as well. So um, the 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 point is that if you get enough people together that don't want something or do want something, uh, petition your government, right? Go talk to them, right? I mean,
sure,
that's the process. Um,
right.
I've been attacked. You know, I haven't really. This is really the first time that I've kind of publicly spoken about flock cameras. I
Mm,
was very much against. We Florida recently allowed for automated ticketing cameras inside school
mm,
zones.
mm,
So
mm,
I'm very much against that, and the reason
hmm.
why is
Yeah,
because when your police officers leave the station or before they leave the station, right, they have to calibrate their equipment. They have to calibrate their
mm,
equipment to make sure that it's right. So if they tag you and you know you're going 12 over,
right.
that they can defend that in court. That's how that works, right? Well, an automated system, those bubbas ain't going out there and calibrating that thing. So when people are like, well, if you're going 11 over,
Right.
you deserve a ticket. Well, what if I wasn't going 11 over? What if I
Hmm.
wasn't? And it's just not calibrated that well. You know, there's no incentive to go to go calibrate it. There's just not, because the city's going to rake in money, and the there's a police officer back at headquarters just looking at every single picture and going, oh, well, the system said that you were doing 11 over. Here's your ticket. So there's never a go back. There's never a fight to like undo what it
And
is. But
you,
I was the only vote against it, the only vote. So
oh wow.
yeah.
So you're wait, is that common right now in your commission, like or in your county or in your sorry in the city? Is that common that you end up being kind of alone in some of these votes? We
No, not.
talked a little bit last time I saw you. We talked a little bit about this in our county. We get a lot of 6-3s. What are you dealing with?
So we have 5 people. So
Yep. Yep.
we tend to not have a lot of 4-1s.
Okay. Okay. So
We
that was
tend
a
to
rare
not.
occasion then.
There have been. I would say this commission we have seen. Last commission we saw a lot of 4-1s, and the mayor was the one on a lot of stuff. But a lot of stuff he wanted just wasn't feasible, and so he would just vote against it just out of protest. This commission we see a lot of 3-2s. We've been seeing a lot of 3-2s because
Okay.
we've been so like I voted
That's
against
fair.
something recently, and it wasn't that I disagreed with the principle of what we were doing. I just disagreed on how we were doing it. Like we forced $1.2 million to go into reserves, which is the piggy bank, the savings account. And
Mm,
I'm not
hmm.
opposed to that at all. I'm not opposed to $1.2 million going into the reserves. I was just opposed to how we did it, because we kind of cut a leg on the stool out from underneath
Mm,
the staff. So that's how
mm,
I felt about it.
mm.
I wish we would
Ooh.
have done it a different way and still gotten to the same result. I just didn't like how we were doing that. So
So you were
uh,
connecting earlier that you've been attacked over the flock differently than say about the ticketing or the school zone ticketing system. You were against that, but in this you haven't been so much against it, and you've gotten attacked as a result. Is that
oh, you find out quickly when you get in these type of positions, you get attacked for everything. So regardless, like you could literally, I voted
right?
against the speed cameras, and I still get attacked for the speed cameras because you're just part of the system, right? Um, and
Golly,
I'll say
you gotta
that
love that.
so for me, attacking doesn't work. Like it's just not. It's not something I respond to. You
Yeah.
know, it's not that effective against me. It may be effective against others, and maybe it is, and that's why people do it. But for me, you know, I'm not trying to say I'm better than anybody. It's just not,
Yeah.
you know, I'm just not wired that way, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's the
You got a little stoicism about you.
yeah, a little bit. It's a little bit. Yeah. Again, I think anybody that's watching this know that flock cameras are not gonna, like, ALPRs are not gonna go away nationwide. That's just not gonna happen. There's too many people, too many cities, counties are embedded into this. But you can have an impact at your local level. You absolutely can.
Right.
Don't necessarily attack um, unless you feel that that person is just all in, right? If they're just all in, like, hey, Flock's here, you're like, I'm never voting against Flock. You're never, you know, then attacking may help, because then you might be able to get somebody else in there. But you've got to organize. You have to organize, and
Mm.
I think that's one of the problems and I'm a red Republican, right? Like, I vote Republican. I've been in the Republican Party for a long time. Republicans don't organize very well. We just don't.
Hmm.
We get mad. We say things on Facebook. We write letters, you know, to our representatives, but it's a very individualistic type contribution, rather than
Hmm.
banding together and saying, hey, and honestly, if I don't know how Mount Juliet is, I don't know how those cities in Tennessee are, but if they're anything like Florida, you got to understand the makeup of your city. You have to understand how your city elects the local officials. Once you understand that, then you can start to have a better effect. So, like, if everybody on that council is voted at large, meaning that everybody in the city can vote for everybody on that council, then you've got a bigger job at hand. You really do.
Mm.
I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
you have to figure out how that works first. And
Hmm.
this is something that Democrats have done very well at. Like, I will give credit where credit is due. Democrats are very, very good at organizing and applying political pressure. And
Hmm.
Republicans are all just individuals, you know, and I think
Right.
it's part of the psychological aspect of the two
I,
camps,
I was
right?
just about to say there's so
Yeah.
much psychology behind that. Yeah. There's
There's
so
a
much
lot.
because
Yeah.
it's the whole, Western civilization, the independent, the autonomous, we kicked Britain's butt in the 1700s. So let's just, like, it's all like lingering from there is what all that
Yeah.
is. And then you got the typical Democratic side is, from a psychological standpoint, is the ones that look at something and go, that's not working, so I'm going to come up with something different. And they just throw a noodle against the wall. And sometimes that noodle's a good noodle, and sometimes it's not. And you got these other people that are like, well, wait a minute, don't bug me by myself. And the Democrats are like, well, there's 100 of us. What are you going to do? Like, so this is all psychological warfare, really, in the way that they think, and the concepts behind, this guy right here is named Thomas Sowell,
Oh yeah. I'm a fan.
one of my heroes. He talks about how we look at the world in two different distinct ways, and that's one of them is he calls it a constrained vision and unconstrained vision. But that's how it divides it. It divides it into, are we this group of people that are going to force change, or are we this batch of individuals that are good with the way things are, and if you're going to change it, you better test it first. And that strain is why we have a bicameral process. It's why we have three branches. It's why, and it works for those purposes. And it's the whole reason that they call it an act of Congress. It's supposed to be difficult, and that's the whole point. Is we shouldn't be just whimsically, changing everybody's lives, on a regular basis. But anyway, yeah, don't get me started on the psychology behind that.
Well,
So,
what I'm saying is
well, this has been fun, man. I'm
your local government has more of an impact on your daily life than Congress does.
right.
A lot of people, when they
Absolutely.
first hear that, they're, because the media, everything you learn in school is all about this is a bill on Capitol Hill and how it gets made and all that good stuff, right? And all that stuff's good. You should learn all that. But what they don't teach you is that your local government is the one that really impacts your daily life. If you wake up in the morning and you take a shower and that water, in some places, the fact that you even have electricity, we don't do electricity, but Tallahassee does. Tallahassee City provides electricity for Tallahassee. So that's a utility that they provide. So if you wake up and put the light switch on in Tallahassee, that's the local government. You turn the faucet on, you get water, and you're in the city limits. You're not on a well. That's your local government. And if you don't like the quality of the water, you got to petition the local government, right? Potholes in the road, sewer, you flush the toilet, and it goes away, it doesn't come back. You never want to see that again, right? Like that's your local government. It's the boring stuff. It really is. This stuff is boring, right? But that's the stuff that your local governments and counties are responsible for. And
well, I can promise you that as it stands, the flock cameras are anything but boring right now.
Yeah, well, I know.
And so that's the thing that just made local politics really exciting.
Yeah.
I mean,
unfortunately,
let's talk local politics.
Unfortunately, a lot of people on these boards and councils, commissions, they're just not. They don't know. They don't dig in. A lot of them. You have the full gamut. You have some of them do their homework. Some that are just there to get it. For the seat or what have you. But then you have some like we have down here that will try to impact the state and say, hey, this is what needs to happen. Y'all need to start providing some guidance on this, or y'all need to, help here, because right now it's kind of wild west. Whatever the law enforcement office department wants to do, that's what they do with this technology. So,
wow, yeah, that's bizarre to me. Is that there's places that anybody can just kind of have access to it. I really like the fact that you suggested that it's very, very limited as to who has access and what security level or security clearance level or whatever. Like it's a lot more policed, I guess, is a for better lack of a better term there.
do you have to abide by HIPAA?
I do.
That's a lot of constraints. There's a lot of constraints around HIPAA.
It is.
So thinking through that, right? Like your notes that you take on any clients, the information about them, any personally identifiable information, you've got to meet certain requirements. Like you can't just give that information out, right? So there's access control. You can't, you probably have to, I'm guessing, you probably have to have that stored on encrypted drives if you store it locally. Probably using a software as a service is my guess, because they do all that stuff for you.
We have a lot of HIPAA compliant software what we use.
Exactly.
And that's a good point. I mean, I know a lot about a lot of people in my area. Yeah. And that's a good example. A really good example from somebody like me is I know a lot about a lot of people that I can't share. And if I do, I lose my license. So it's policed in a good way. And that's a really good restriction. It's like what we were talking about earlier. It's like somebody brought it up and introduced Ed Snowden into the conversation when they brought up flock cameras. It was like, well, what he introduced. I was like, I don't know if that's quite the same thing. It's similar, but I don't know if it's the same thing. We're not really
Edward
talking
Snowden,
about the same thing.
He introduced, because I was in a TSSCI job when Edward Snowden did what he did. And he basically saw that AT&T was providing the capability for the government to basically spy on any conversation, right? He was showing that every phone call you make, every text you make is being recorded to some degree, or the fact that it was even made is being recorded. And then we found out later that these are FISA courts. Basically, the government's position was if there's no warrant, then if we're not going to prosecute you, we don't need a warrant. That was kind of their mindset on it, right? And that's, in my opinion, Close, but not the same. And the reason it's not the same is because when
Right.
you and I have a conversation over the phone, obviously not this is being broadcast, but when you and I have a conversation over the phone, that phone conversation is private
Hmm.
as far as we both are concerned. And so therefore we should have an expectation of privacy. In fact, I don't know about Tennessee, but in the state of Florida, I have to ask your permission to even record it. Right.
You don't in Tennessee, but
So
yeah.
Florida is a two-party state. You get both. Everybody has to
Mm,
know that you're being recorded,
mm,
and
mm,
you know. So my my point is that because of that piece that says you have no expectation of privacy in public, that and it's a good thing. It is a good thing, but it causes a lot of consternation with this system, right? It just does because
mm,
you should not have an expectation of privacy in public, right? That's a
mm,
foundational thing that this country has had for a very long time.
hmm.
That private is private, public is public, and there's a line there between the two.
Yeah,
And
I think when it comes down to it, it's the biggest argument for flock cameras is just the fact that, like, I'm not going to say it on here, but there was a comedian I watched recently that I liked, and he took the stage and he started just the very very beginning of his bit as a comedian doing a full night of stand up. He started it by saying a vulgar word about 80 times in a row. That's what he did.
okay,
That's how he started it. He
yeah.
said a very vulgar word, and I'm not going to say, like, 80 times in a row. And then he stopped and he went, "You're welcome. When you're on your way home and you pull up your search engine, that's going to be in there." And they're like, "Why are you looking
Uh,
that up?" "Well, I don't know. I wasn't looking it up." "Yes, you were." Like, he goes, "I just caused a fight between half of y'all when y'all go home." Like, that was the joke was that he just tapped into your phones by saying something that your phone was going to hear, and then you're going to see it on Instagram when you open it up.
yeah.
And so the 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 case for it is, if you're okay with carrying your phone around, flock cameras aren't going to really alter that a whole lot. As long as we don't have
The
abuse
difference
and as
though
long
is,
as
is
we're not
that
selling information.
when you get an iPhone, you get an Android, what have you, you turn that phone on, immediately you're hit for the very first time you turn that phone on, you're immediately hit with the terms of service. And you, in order to use that phone, you have to say, yes, I agree to these terms of service. So technically you've chosen
Oh, right.
to,
Yeah.
right. And so the argument
Yeah.
there is that when you're out and about, I didn't choose this, I didn't.
Mm.
But that's where the other side of the argument of you don't have any expectation of privacy in public comes into play, right? So again, I think there just needs to be a lot more constraints and controls. If you get into CGIS type stuff, there's class 1 and class 3 information, right? And class 1 type information, and if there's law enforcement bubbas on that are watching this or later watching it, I'm sorry if I screw this up, but class 1 information tends to be just more like ephemeral type stuff. Like, it's not a case information. It's not excuse me. Think of it as like with HIPAA, it would be like your schedule without the names attached to it, right? So
Okay.
it's
Mhm.
right. So, but class 3 would be
Mhm.
more of your case notes about a specific person,
Mhm.
right? That's class 3, and so you have two different levels of information here, and sometimes class 1 will bump into class 3. So, for example, in flock, we with flock cameras or ALPR cameras, the legislation needs to be set to where the when the camera takes a picture of your license plate, that's just class 1. So we can get rid of that in 7 days or whatever, right? We don't need to store that information for a very, very
Mm.
long period of time. But if you decided to rob a bank, right? Um, all of the images of your tag that show up under flock can now be class 3. And so those things can get stored because it's now part of the investigation and it's going to be used in court against you. That
Okay.
and it gets elevated to that type of information. So then that information can be stored for 3 5 years, whatever, right? As long as the
Yep.
investigation is ongoing, it can be stored indefinitely. Once the investigation is either closed or put on ice, I think then I think another disposition schedule comes into play.
Hmm.
But those types of controls are just not in place right now. It's just Flock is like, hey, how long do you want to store the data for? And
Oh
cities.
wow.
New Hampshire chooses. I think New Hampshire's 35 minutes. They've
Oh
chosen across the
wow.
state 35 minutes, and Florida hasn't chosen anything. I don't think Tennessee's chosen anything. We personally have chosen 30 days.
Wow.
In our city, it's 30 days. So
Okay.
um,
So you may not even be aware of this. This is not a widely known thing, but in our industry, in counseling, and I'm sure it's used in other areas other than counseling, we're using a lot of AI to do note taking now. So what we have is we have AI systems that are HIPAA compliant, which means they'll record the session. You got to get their informed consent, basically their permission to do so, and then it'll record the session, and then it'll basically automatically drop after 7 days. And so 7 days later, whatever that file was is gone. So whatever notes you need to get out of that, you get it out before then. And
mhm.
it basically is just doing a lot of our notes for us now, so we don't have to like hand type all these notes that insurance wants. It's really just for insurance, really, is what they're primarily for. Um, when we're billing insurance, they want to see notes in a certain format, and these AI note takers do it in the format, spit it out, and you literally hit copy paste as long as there's nothing you want to alter about the notes. But the whole point was the systems that we've been using all have there's two or three different systems. They're all 7 day systems. So after 7 days, that stuff is gone, and that makes it part of what makes it HIPAA compliant.
Our police
So
officers use cameras, body cameras, which I think body cameras are great. I think they're amazing.
yep,
There have been
yep.
so many officers that have had to make split-second decisions, and when the body camera came out, it was like, I mean, justified. There's also been officers that have, tried to skirt the system or reacted in ways that they shouldn't have, and the body camera was used to then terminate them or even prosecute them. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm a big fan of body cameras on every single law enforcement interaction. I think it's an amazing thing. I think it's great, and the new ones have AI built into them. The newest
Wow.
one, which recently came out, is the AI, the little camera on the chest. They can tell it, "Hey, I need translation," and if the officer doesn't speak Spanish, Korean, pick a language, right? Um, the person that they're interacting with can speak in their native language, and it will literally tell them in their language, "I understand you. Please speak slowly, and I'll translate." And it just says it in their language, and the officer generally
Wow.
doesn't even know what it's being said, and it literally can do that in the moment. And I've seen before where police officers have rolled up. I was there one time. We had a bar that was the Hispanic bar, and there was something happened there, and the officers all rolled up, and hardly anybody spoke any English. I think one guy spoke English. We have one officer that spoke Spanish, and trying to work through all that on like who said, he said, she said, he hit this
Mm.
person, and that kind of stuff. It was a bar fight, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And the guy who started it is the one who called the cops. So that's really what kind of confused everybody, because the guy who really threw the first punch and really got it all started was one who got beat up. He went outside and he's mad he got beat up, so he called the cops.
Wow.
Right. So,
Wow.
but yeah, every bit of that, because even if it's in a different language, it will translate it over to English in AI when the officer comes back. Like, now their case notes are already done for this interaction. I mean, it's just,
Oh,
yeah.
golly, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't think about that too. It's already notating and everything else. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, wow, this is a fascinating discussion. We've maintained the same group of people here for the whole time somehow. They haven't bailed on us.
Oh man.
Um, we got some really smart people watching this right now, by the way.
Oh boy.
And what they need to know is that the smart Granger in our family is the one with the beard.
Oh yeah.
Yep. we're on
That's-
Facebook, and somebody was talking about how I just got another degree, and our cousin Larry jumps on and goes, "Good to know there's a smart Granger in the family." I said, "Yeah, Brian's in our family."
yeah, yeah. I slept in an Holiday Inn. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I'm
People think I'm smart. I'm like, y'all don't understand. We got people in my family a lot smarter than I am. But
I just read a lot,
um,
and I try to work through things, and none of this is
yeah.
easy, right? I mean, this is a huge gray area, right? This flock stuff is great.
Oh
It's
wow.
very gray. Um,
Yeah.
it-
That's why
it-
I wanted to talk about it. I mean,
yeah.
I really wanted to get your take on this because particularly where I'm at regionally, it is a hot, hot issue right now. And people are just fighting over it right and left. And I hate that it's become political. I really do. Because it doesn't have to be that divided that fast. It just doesn't have to become right versus left and, donkey versus elephant right away. Why does it have to go binary all
So that's
immediately? I
interesting
don't know.
because I haven't down here. I haven't seen the right versus left piece of it. I really haven't. I have seen, obviously there's groups that are absolutely against it. I have seen where some people have gotten vocal about it on Facebook and challenging these people. Because like one guy I saw the other night, one guy he had something stolen. Something was stolen. I think it was his boat, and
Mm,
the cops. I mean, we were able to find it within 30 minutes, easy. Like, and it was
wow.
because of the flock cameras. Like there was,
Right. Right.
before those things were implemented. He might maybe would have found his boat. Maybe by the time we got
Right.
out of the county, probably not.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I know, yeah.
you know,
That's
it's
what I'm seeing here, and again, it's like the sort of banter back and forth is for the most part, the conservatives they don't want it in, and especially, of course, the libertarians, of course, don't want anything to do with it, but that's to be expected. But the conservatives, slash maybe Republicans, although I don't always put those two directly together, but they're definitely like no flock cameras, leave us alone, stay out of our business. Whereas you're just not hearing that so much on the left. They're not as against it. And so what's interesting is that everybody's talking about the privacy issue, and I hear that's the part that got my attention over here was like I heard very few people talking about what great things it's doing unless they bring up Mount Juliet, and that's not our county, it's the neighboring county, but um still that's when this conversation, like, it never really goes there unless you're talking about that city. Other than that, everybody wants to talk about privacy, and it's really like the only thing they're talking about. And I thought, I've already had a conversation with you about this, and I thought I kind of know. I think I know what Brian's going to say about this, and I want to hear it, and I want people to hear it publicly that can, and I'm going to put this out. Um, and anyway, my room just got. Oh, I know what happened. Wow, that was interesting. All right, so my room just got dim a little bit. I like it. It's kind of mood lighting. I have Alexa, and my wife was in another room and just talked to it. That's what happened. Speaking of
yeah,
AI,
yeah. Guess what? I don't have in my house.
yeah, I know, I know, I know. A lot of people are like not fond of the fact that I talk
Yeah,
to Amazon in every room of my house, but
that's. I
um,
mean, that's I've seen that counter argument of like, hey Alexa, tell me about why I don't like plot cameras. That kind of meme type stuff. But what I'm saying is
yeah,
I have seen people who the crime that was committed and then solved so fast, and then when they realized that it was from the flock cameras, it's like they're just like, I don't understand why you guys would not want this, because like I've had so much stuff. I've had like one guy had a motorcycle stolen. He's had his motorcycle stolen 3 times, right? One time, and it's different motorcycles, right? So like the first motorcycle he never got back, never found it, right? So second motorcycle he eventually was able to track it down and find it after a few months. Third motorcycle, had it in 20 minutes. Block cameras.
oh wow,
So that
Wow.
dude is like, there's no way I want to get rid of this because my
Yeah.
motorcycle is going to get stolen again. And I can get
Right.
back in 20 minutes. Like that's
Yeah.
the
Yeah. That's interesting. The more you see that, the more this is going to become popular
yeah.
in that
That's
way.
that's what
I
I'm
can see
saying.
how I
That's
can
what
see how it's going to happen.
this is what your politicians are dealing with because the police departments love it because they're able to solve stuff so fast and they're finally getting, some of them are finally getting what the fire departments have been getting. Oh, thank you so much
Mm.
for being here, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they're getting the praise or so they're just like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, like
Yeah.
I can solve this thing in 20 minutes, make you happy. Um, Plus, like I showed you earlier, the math, which is 40,000 people. I don't. What's the millage rate in Mountain Juliet? Do y'all pay income tax?
State income tax, no.
What taxes do you pay? Are you like us?
It's federal. And then the normal stuff.
So you pay your ad valorem taxes on your house. Y'all
Yeah,
pay.
just like federal property, no state taxes, and that's what's a little bit different. It's why we're so business friendly. While all the businesses are leaving places and coming here is
Yeah.
because of the no state income tax for that, and then there were very very good tax incentives for businesses, small businesses.
So the millage rate of Mount Juliet seems to be pretty low. Millage. $0.28 per $100 of assessed property value.
Mm.
Awesome. Yeah, you're $2.80 for every $1,000. We're $4.79 per thousand. So we're about double the millage rate. Yeah, just within the city, and yeah, there could be a lot of factors as to why that is, but the point is that the millage rate, and y'all probably may call it something else, but the rate at which your property taxes are being taxed. If Mount Juliet was probably get rid of a lot of those, and you wanted the same level of service that the police department there could offer, they're probably going to have to double their police department, which means you would probably have to raise taxes quite a bit to meet that.
Oh.
That is what your politicians are up against. They're looking at results and cost, and they're getting
costs, yeah.
a lot of great results, and it doesn't cost a lot. Each one of these cameras is about $2,500 a year, and it's on 24/7. It never takes a break. It never gets sick. So when you look at compensation rates,
no PTO.
You're right.
No.
When you look at compensation rates, for police officers, just the salary alone is not all encompassing. You have to also consider that police departments usually have very good retirement systems, and rightfully so. But that does get included, and you also have to consider that medical is usually included in that. And so you look at your total wrap rate for what a full-time employee would cost for an FTE. What an FTE would be. I mean, you're looking at like ours. I think ours, we are like one FTE sworn officer is almost $100,000 total. Now that ain't what they're getting paid, but that's what the total cost to the city is for having that one position. So
yeah,
again, if you don't want them,
this
petition your government.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said earlier, man, that's the process. Use the process. If you want it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. And say what you want. Now, there's a dark side to all this, and I won't even get into it. But the county and the city that I'm in, which is not what we've been talking about tonight, and I'm not even going to mention it because I'm about to say something negative, but is like just one example of how that works here. 9 county commissioners, and for a better part of 10 years, every single citizen, almost every single citizen, has said we don't want any more multifamily dwellings in this area, and they sprout up as fast as they can go up. The entire the
Oh boy.
entire the entire group has said, nope, this is what we're doing anyway, even though the citizens have all said this is what we want. And they're going directly against the consent of the governed, if you will. And what's baffling is how all these people still get reelected. That part really like sets me back. I'm like, how is this even happening? If that's really the case. Of course, I'm not a local politics guy, so I don't know that much about it. But
That's
what I just
interesting.
told you is just about all I know.
So in the state of Florida, we have what's called the Live Local Act, and
Mhm.
we cannot, we are not allowed to prevent multifamily from coming in.
Oh wow.
We are precluded from by the state. We can't. Not only does the Live Local Act preclude us from saying nope, no more apartments. Like, we're not allowed to do that. Not only does it do that, it makes it to where there's a override for the zoning. So if you're a developer and you're like, oh man, I found this industrial part, or I found this commercial parcel, or I found this residential parcel, and this residential parcel is large enough to hold multifamily apartments or low income housing or whatever you want in that realm, but it's not zoned for that. You don't even have to ask for rezoning. You can just build it.
Oh
It is
wow.
it is it is
Wow.
a very, yeah. It is a very
Wow. No. Now that I don't believe is again, I'm not real knowledgeable about all that, but I don't believe that's the case here. I'm pretty sure that there are mechanisms where the citizens control that,
so on top of
um,
that.
it's not that let me back up. It's not that the citizens control it. It's the citizens elect representatives who control it, and the representatives have said, "I'm not doing anything you say. Oh, we're doing exactly what we want to do." Oh, and it just so happens to be quite a few of those have dual relationships with the builders of these areas. Isn't that amazing how that works?
Well, if they have a relationship with the builder, they shouldn't be voting on the issue. I mean, at least that's I
I
know.
mean,
I know Tennessee law and Florida law are very similar in this, because I want to say Tennessee copied
hmm
Florida's law. States do this all the time,
hmm
where they like, yeah, we like that, we're just
hmm
going to copy it. Um, the Sunshine Law is what we call it. I don't know what y'all call it, but it's almost a copy and paste of what Florida has.
hmm
And if like, I don't have any business dealings in Panama City, so it makes it very easy for me. But several of my peers on the
hmm
count or on the commission, they have business interests, and so there's been times where they've had to recuse themselves, and they have to publicly state why they're recusing themselves. Like I'm a business partner in this, or not if they owned it previously, but I stand to benefit by whatever, or even the perception of benefit. Even if there's a perception of benefit,
Yeah. Yeah.
you have to recuse yourself, and you have to
Yeah.
state why.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, dude, this has been fun. I'm gonna get out of here.
All right.
And go chew on this a little bit. But I'm glad you got on. I appreciate you getting
Yeah.
on.
Thank you for having me.
Um,
Appreciate it.
and I'm gonna, we'll see what happens with all the clips. I'll do some clips and have some fun with this later, after this. But I'm glad you did this, man. This was a lot of fun for me. I just wanted to learn about this, and so I was glad you did it. All right.
Yeah. Happy to help. Thank you for having me.
All right, brother.
Have a great night.
Till next time. See you, man.
Yeah.